r/AskReddit. What's the biggest lie the internet has created? That Reddit could find the identity of the Boston bomber. My bad. Ah yes. Internet witch hunting at its finest, wrote a book that mentioned us, Reddit, and specifically that incident recently. Didn't look too kindly on it, / editor. I'll leave it in as a shout out to my editor. Waves in typo. Everyone's lives on IG. Yeah, it says nowhere about them stalking each other, who liked what, who follows who. How they spend 5 hours actually looking into their phone each day instead of doing that fun stuff that they portrayed, and about 83 exact same photos that just didn't make the cut. I pretty much entirely bailed on Instagram for this reason. I keep an account just for following artists / animators / some photographers. But I refuse to follow the vast majority of people I personally know. Or pretty much anyone that posts primarily about their daily life. A few days after I did this, I felt so much better. Just in general. That your opinion is every bit as valid as that of trained experts. The rot of subjective reality began to take root in colleges in the 1960s. But the internet took it pro. Anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life. Nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. Asimov. There's just one in Asimov. Everyone but you has their hit together. Someone at work taught me an amazing analogy some years back. Look at the beautiful swan gliding gracefully across the lake. What you don't see is the frantic movement of its feet underwater propelling it forward. And what you also don't see is that it currently doesn't have any food and is looking for some. Moral of the story, things that look perfect seldom are. There is always something not right that you maybe don't know about. I've always thought about it in terms of a parable I heard once. One day all the people of the world were summoned to a giant table and took out their biggest problem and threw it onto the table. They were told that they could pick up any problem they wanted and leave. Everyone looked at everyone else's biggest problem and then picked up back their own and left. I like this parable because it's ambiguous. Was it just inertia that made people feel comfort with their own issues? Or is it that everyone is dealing with their own bad hit? I've tried it out in my own life. Looked at people I know and thought about the worst thing I know affecting their life and asked myself, would I want their problem rather than mine? Mostly, I end up thinking no. I've won an iPad Pro, but I must fill out lots of surveys in order to unlock it. That stuff just smells like a scam. How can people be so bad at recognizing when something is too good to be true? People are dumb. Even smart people can be dumb. You come across a circumstance or situation that you aren't equipped for and out comes the dumbness. That people who don't agree with you are idiots. Actually, the internet just pumped some steroids into that way of thinking. The only time I will think someone is an idiot for not agreeing with me is when they refuse to try to understand or acknowledge any viewpoint but their own. I certainly do not think they are an idiot for disagreeing. I think they are an idiot because you cannot think critically of a topic if you don't consider any side of the argument besides your own. Acknowledging other sides to an argument does not mean you have to agree with them. That's a good policy to have. As long as you're not just saying it. My dad says he will consider anyone's opinion as long as it's well reasoned. But in practice he just talks over anyone trying to explain their reasoning to him. More than once he's done this to me. Occasionally even when we agree on something, but for different reasons. We swallow like 3 spiders a night. Most people never swallow spiders in their sleep. It's this one guy called Spider George who skews the stats. That people are not capable of change. The cancel culture of social media is so disheartening. People are out to ruin the lives of others for things they said many years ago and or while they were very young. And the members of that mob are generally in no position to judge others. It's just an endless cycle of hypocrisy. What's done is done and can't be undone. The best anyone can hope to do is change and attempt to offset their past behavior. I'm not saying nobody ever deserves to be called out for their bad behavior. But we've gone full tilt in the opposite direction. We need to consider the possibility that people change. Rehire James Gunn. All opinions about any topic are equal in value. Edit. Thanks for the silver. Ugh. Was arguing with a flat earther who assured me the moon landing was fake today, and he dropped the gem. Well, clearly we are getting nowhere here. We are both entitled to our opinions. But your opinion is worth negative value to our entire society. Allowing yourself to get into an argument with someone who believes the earth is flat isn't exactly a valuable use of time either. If I can be meta for a moment, I think the existence of the internet has convinced people it's not one of the most important inventions ever conceived. Instagram, Facebook, BuzzFeed, Reddit, Vox, Snapchat, Tumblr, MySpace, Vox, Vimeo, Putloka, and so many others. We are so damn convinced the internet is in the hands of faceless corporations, and it is, that we have forgotten how wonderful the internet is conceptually. I have friends in Netherlands, America, Australia, Philippines, Finland, Germany, Argentina, and so many other wonderful places, and 20 years ago we'd have never spoken, either online or otherwise. The biggest lie the internet has created is that it's just the internet. Honestly, this is the best response I've seen in this thread. At least Imo, as a software engineer that designs and develops network related platforms. There are so many things that amaze me on literally a daily basis: the invention and implementation of TCP/IP, HTTP, and then everything that's built on top of it. All of the data centers and millions of servers and network devices that are built on top of it. And it's all seamless to the end user. We've built an infrastructure where all the knowledge of the world and any number of ways to communicate are right at our fingertips. Even as I've been typing this on my ducking phone, which is more powerful than a computer I had 15 years ago, it didn't even occur to me to think about how it's working until just now. Just think about where we'll go with this. Every opinion is black and white. The creation of echo chambers on the internet perpetuates that mindset. It's made politics so much more toxic to talk about now too. It's like people can no longer say I like some of the policies of this liberal party and some of this conservative party. It just has to be this side is all that is good in the world and this other side is the literal devil. There's a forum I visit that used to be good for political discussion. It wasn't a huge group, probably less than 20 active users, but there was a reasonably wide range of opinions, and we had some good discussions. The group as a whole was probably left of center, but we did have a number of centrists, libertarians and conservatives, albeit fiscal conservatives, rather than social conservatives. Unfortunately, increased polarization during the 2016 elections basically killed it. Several posters started getting more and more adamant that you were either 100% with them or 100% against them. This led to a lot of people leaving either because they couldn't handle people who slightly disagreed with them on some topics or just getting fed up with the discussion that was becoming increasingly hostile. I still go there occasionally, but the political discourse has basically devolved into a couple of posters who spend their time posting links to articles about bad stuff the other party has done. It's kind of sad really. You forgot, I'm a 16-year-old girl. 16/F/Cap. 16/F/Cali. That all liberals are crazy and out of touch. And all conservatives are backwards racists. I absolutely hate these generalizations. I'm a bleeding heart liberal, but some of my oldest and closest friends voted for Trump. We may disagree over politics, but all of us are able to put that aside. We see each other as more than the political ideas they support. At least that's how I feel. I can only hope they feel the same. Another related anecdote, I was in Glacier National Park in August with my brother. We had pulled a permit for a backpacking trip that is arguably one of the coolest in the park, if not the lower 48. We wake up late on the opposite side of the park, so we don't drop the car off until a little before noon. Because we only had one car, we needed to hitchhike to get to the trailhead from the car. It was 11 miles of road walking and then 11 miles of hiking to get to our first campsite. We start walking the dirt road, closer to the Canadian border than any town or infrastructure. We were skeptical, to say the least, that a car would happen to come by that was going all the way to our destination. We had basically resigned to the fact that we were going to be doing some heavy road walking. We couldn't believe our luck when we hear a car is leaving the parking lot where we came from. Stick out our thumbs and a woman in a G-Wagon stops. She asks us where we are going. I tell her Kintla Lake. The total opposite direction she and her husband are going. Round trip probably 2 hours to and from where they picked us up. She tells me to hop in and that my brother can ride with her husband in the car behind her. On the way we are making conversation and it becomes apparent that this woman is very conservative. I don't have a problem with that, but she is talking a bit of politics. This is a long car ride. So eventually I politely reveal to her that while my brother and I are Georgia boys, we were raised as liberals. She looks at me and says, isn't it great that both of us have such different opinions, but we can both love America so much, or something to that effect. I was so taken back by that. It was really the last thing I expected. Once we made it to Kintla Lake, she would not accept any money as payment and told me to pay it forward in the future. I won't ever forget that. They literally saved the day. It ended up being so hot that there is no way we could have made the entire road walk and then hike to our campsite from the trailhead. Hey, this story sounds super familiar. I was in GNP in August too, and my mom stayed back in Canada for a day before driving back to Kalispell. And we had even rented a G-Wagon that she took back. She is also a conservative. Anti-vaxxers. I can't imagine that idiocy would have gained as much traction and spread as much without the internet. The internet didn't create anti-vaxxers. They were always around. Since Salk. It just amplifies the crazy, like it does with everything. It goes even further back than that. The Anti-Vaccination Society of America was founded in 1879. And it was a thing even earlier. If you call a plumber to unblock your sink, they'll have X with you. Still so disappointed about this one. They never said it was good X. Early in the days, most people thought internet activity was anonymous. In the early days, it actually was. To some extent. Maybe not 100% perfect anonymity, but pretty close. Ducking this. Back in the day, I changed the reply to field in an email I sent to the students of another department as a prank, and got almost kicked out of my course for hacking and impersonating our head of department. Even the ducking it guy thought he was being oh so clever for not falling for that one. Semicolon. That your opinion matters. And that your opinion is equal to everybody else's. And that more people agree with your opinion than actually do in the real world. Half of the US are Nazis and the other half are freedom-hating communists. But 100% of the US is fat and ignorant. That an ex-Navy SEAL Marine Corps sniper trained in guerrilla combat with over 300 confirmed kills is sending his network of agents to wipe a miserable kid off the face of the earth for teabagging him in Call of Duty. I'd respect anyone who was an expert in simian attack techniques. Edit, my first silver. Many thanks. That orgies are commonplace in college dorm rooms. Maybe not in your dorm room. The smallest thing you did 30 years ago is an indication of who you secretly really are. Sorry to interrupt your self-righteous circular checking. But painting your face black as part of Michael Jackson costume doesn't mean you hate black people. It means you are a guy who is trying to look like Michael Jackson. If you made a few homophobic jokes 15 years ago, it is way less likely that you secretly despise gay people and more likely that you just made some jokes in poor taste 15 years ago. 99% of the world is not secretly hateful. Most of the time someone just screwed up and did something insensitive. Edit, I wasn't specifically talking about the situation in VAP, but Michael Jackson was in my head because of that. My point is basically I don't think doing a single isolated action makes you a bad person. It is much more likely that a single action is a dumb mistake, not an indication of a secret hatred. Once we are talking about the situation in VAP, I also don't think darkening your face to accurately portray someone is racist. Racism means you hate someone or treat them differently because of their race. Not that you were trying to accurately portray someone of a different race at a costume party. That yearbook pic is another story. It's a double-edged sword. Those who participate in witch hunts over old tweets, or whatever, will have no defense if they fall to the same tactics. Not many people will jump to the defense of a hypocrite. Having a long-running social media identity will always reveal something unsavory in hindsight. That Ghastly will never give you up, nor let you down. Also, I have come to find that not all that glitters is truly gold. The real question is this. Then, do shooting stars truly break the mold? No. But they'll go to a cool place. And they say it gets colder. That our worth as humans is determined by likes. Edit. I'm appreciative of the upvotes and silver. Fellow Redditors, I did not express myself very eloquently, but I hope the attention that a bunch of upvotes and a silver bring to a post or comment will cause people to stop to read this one, and if they find themselves basing their self-esteem on a lack of likes, follows, or upvotes, they will realize their true value lies within themselves alone. And that is enough. Like if agree. Smash that like button, guys. Mayan calendar predicts end of world.